India is still recovering from a dwindling second wave of COVID-19 infections. It may only have a few months more before a third wave threatens to completely overwhelm the country's healthcare system. A Snap survey of 40 doctors, scientists, virologists from around the world has revealed that India will likely be hit by a third wave of COVID-19 infections in October. While the survey says it will be better controlled this time around, the pandemic will still continue to remain a public health threat for at least another year. However, over 70% of the experts consulted said any new outbreak would be better controlled since vaccinations would provide some measure of immunity. So far, India has only fully vaccinated about 5% of its estimated eligible population of 950 million. While experts feel its vaccination drive is likely to pick up, they have also cautioned against lifting restrictions early. In fact, most Indian states have eased restrictions in the past week as daily infections decreased.
And you didn't think we were in Jacob's trouble.
Capital as well.
Jacob's trouble is going to get worse.
Preparing for the third wave in Delhi, the Chief Minister's office said it plans to double the capacity of oxygen plants in hospitals by the end of September. It is also ramping up infrastructure in accordance to a worst-case scenario
those ventilators
where Delhi
kill
would have to handle 45,000 new cases per day. This is prudent since alarms were raised after huge crowds were seen in the capital's markets and malls just days after COVID-19 restrictions were relaxed. This even after the city's health infrastructure was brought to its knees during the second wave of COVID-19 in the months of April and May. At the peak of its second wave, India reported over 400,000 new cases daily, along with shortage of vaccines, medicines, oxygen, hospital beds. Over 380,000 people have died so far.
And they're lying about the numbers, and like everything else, this is all about trying to force these people into getting inoculated, which there's a lot of pushback to it, which is why they're always in the news. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching the truth and sincerity, and a shout out to Yakim who's out there on the four corners of the earth proclaiming this truth. Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Brakata. So, reason I'm showing that is because, of course, man, they're saying that it's going to hit over here. You know, so you got to pay attention to what's going on. Now, most people here in Babylon think that everything is great because it's reopened. You know, but again, what about all those places that are shut forever? They don't think about that. You know, and there's a constant war on the homeless and, you know, those that are trying to live off the grid. There's a reason for that.
The director of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Rochelle Walensky. Dr. Walensky, good morning to you. It's good to have you. I want to start with myocarditis, that rare heart inflammation. There are now more than 300 cases being investigated. Of course, that's out of millions of people who've been fully vaccinated. Is there enough evidence, though, now to officially confirm the link between the vaccines and this rare condition?
Good morning, Whit. Thanks for having me. We certainly are looking at this carefully. We have an ACIP meeting that has been scheduled for next week, and we are going to be eager to look at the data during that meeting. What I will say is over 200 million doses of vaccine have been given, and really these events are really quite rare. They are, as you know, minor, self-limited. They generally resolve with rest and standard medications, and what we're really saying is the risk of the disease itself. We've had 300 pediatric deaths. We've had over 4,000 children with the MIS syndrome that have resulted in even more deaths, 36 more deaths. And so what we're really saying is in that context, these cases of mild heart inflammation, the risk of that, which are quite rare,
very rare,
overwhelmed by the benefit of
same hard shit.
So we know that it's rare, and that's
we know it's rare. We know it's rare. It's so rare. It's so rare because so many people aren't reporting the actual numbers. But hey, while that's going on, recall Newsom. You know how they say that they won't regard your so-called leaders?
A scare for Governor Gavin Newsom. A man was arrested on suspicion of assaulting the governor during his visit to downtown Oakland.
Well, I guess they know he's a piece of shit.
Shop and pizzeria to promote small businesses when he was approached by what the CHP describes as an aggressive individual. CHP officers whisked Newsom away and he didn't appear to be hurt. The 54-year-old man was taken in jail and booked on resisting an executive order and assaulting a political official. When asked about the incident, Newsom joked to reporters that different people have different ways of saying hello.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC7 content by...
So, there you have it, man. They should not regard their kings and their governors, you know, and he's about to be recalled very soon. But hey, there's more plans to burn California as these fires are growing wild. What you gonna do when they run wild? Most people don't know what they're gonna do. It just happens. The Most High is burning down this place. It's about time this motherfucker burned. We're fucking tired of this fucking goddamn fag pride month too. The Most High's gotta fucking burn it down. These fucking people need to fry.
Let's look live again here over the park fire. A very different scene from what we saw late last night when it broke out. Instead of flames, you now see that charred hillside. This fire's burned now 400 acres since it sparked last night at around 9:30. Chief Meteorologist Jason Stiff is tracking the winds in the area. But first, we go to Action News Now reporter Tori Apodaca live in Upper Park. Tori, are they making good progress?
Well, it's slow and steady, Haley. Chico Fire and CAL FIRE Butte County crews were out here working to contain the fire through the night and into the morning, and you can see the fire line right here that is scorched from the flames.
The fire spread rapidly, and we continue
to see a lot more.
Put resources in strategic locations.
And hey, PG&E will cut off your water too.
Hoses
They're good about that.
snaking through the canyon. Helicopters watching for hotspots.
Remember, water police will shut you down.
More than 200 firefighters from 2 departments, all with one goal: containing the park fire.
It's a unique situation in this portion of the county where resources converge regardless of jurisdiction, and that allows us to create a force multiplier of resources so we can take care of the situation as quick as possible.
Let me show you some of the damage. Monkey Face, a super popular hiking spot here in Chico, impacted by the flames. We can see crews out there still working to clean up some of the hot spots.
What makes that park beautiful is the fact that it's got some
that they're not blaming the homeless.
And that canyon generates some down canyon winds, and that's what affected us last night. Is the cool air pools in the canyon and comes down into the valley, so we do expect some down canyon flow.
Chico Fire Chief Steve Standridge hopes they continue to make good progress.
We anticipate by this evening, we will have a solid containment line. It will not be considered 100%, but we're making our way towards that, and in the next several days, we will continue to throw resources to mop up.
But for now, the city's asking people to stay out of the area.
We ask that people stay out of Upper Park at this time. Trails and for bicyclists, pedestrians, and equestrians are closed. The golf cart course is open.
So there you have it, man. That's one of many fires that are growing. You got this one as well. And this is in Big Sur.
On the KPIX 5 News at 7 and streaming on CBSN Bay Area. If you were thinking of heading down to Big Sur for Father's Day weekend, this might change your plans. Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Cook.
I'm Alan Martin in for Ken. We're going to begin on that fire watch. A smoky fire forcing evacuations near Big Sur. It's exploded to about 1,000 acres in just the past few hours. The Willow fire was just 200 acres at noon. It's burning in a heavily forested area just north of the scar from last year's massive Dolan fire. Right now, it is not threatening any buildings, but evacuations have been ordered for the Tasahara Zen Mountain Center and the Arroyo Seco campground, which happen to be full for Father's Day weekend. And a pair of tankers have been flying in and out of CAL FIRE's air attack base in Hollister all day, assisting about 300 firefighters on the ground. The Forest Service says there is, quote, no containment in the near future.
The fire is putting up so much smoke you can see it from space, and the leading edge of the plume is headed our way. The National Weather Service says the smoke is expected to drift into southern Santa Clara County as the wind blows in that direction.
So there you have it, man. You know? And there's been plans for a long time to burn it all down. Hey, you know, this place that sins has reached heaven, you know, so this place is going to be burned to the ground. And this in Modesto.
The Modesto lumberyard went up in flames overnight. It was quite a sight here. You can see just how intense the fire was in video and pictures here. This came from the Modesto Fire Department. The flames just rolling there. It happened at the American Lumber Company. That's on 9th Street.
Live Copter 3 flew over the yard at noon, and you can see the debris and all the ash and charred remains there. Crews say 4 buildings were destroyed and 2 others were damaged.
KCRA 3's Kay Reese shows us how this fire has affected the community.
This is a heartbreaking loss for so many in the community. The charred remains, the burned debris, the loss of an almost 100-year-old business. As the American Lumber Company employees take stock of what has been lost to an early morning fire.
We've lost all of our treated and timbers and hardwoods were kept in this warehouse.
They are aware of what remains, the main storefront, plywood, 2x framing, and the community's ongoing support.
They might not be able to do much, but they say, hey, if I can do something, let me know. And you know, that kind of community support really means a lot to us.
Modesto firefighters shared video of the intense scene they faced. Now 4 buildings, including a sawmill, have been destroyed, 2 buildings damaged, and for customers such as Julio Catsalco.
I feel like I lost part of my past.
It's a store where he bought the lumber that became a part of his home in the 1970s.
We depended on this store for a long time.
For Scott Bird, it's a small business where helpful workers were always willing to go the extra mile.
It's really devastating.
All done by design.
And for employees, it's a place that became like a second home.
It's pretty surreal. We're just kind of taking it one step at a time at this point.
Employees tell us there are about 24 people on staff and that the owner told them this morning that he will make sure that they remain paid. In Modesto, Kay Reese, KCRA 3 News.
And the cause of that fire is still under investigation.
I bet it is. You can best believe it's all part of the Rothschild plan to get rid of both small and great. You know? Small businesses, man, there's been a war on that. That's what this pandemic was really all about. But hey, you know, this is what's going on in my neck of the woods here in Redding.
Let's clamp and get you hooked up.
This ain't too far from where I live either. Again, they'll probably just blame the homeless for it. That's all they do here in Redding. Whenever there's a fire, they automatically assume it's the homeless.
Back up a little bit there, back up. Just driveway right there when you get to that gate. North side.
The post-pandemic option for your Father's Day weekend.
Oh, shut up. My father died. So, either way though, fire crews managed to extinguish a vegetation fire near Highway 44 and Victor Avenue within 30 minutes Friday afternoon. Yeah, and that's the one that I heard about, you know, because that's not too far from Churn Creek Road in the area where I live. The fire was first reported around 12:15 p.m. Fire crews were already in the area for reported structure fire and were able to quickly respond. Access to the fire was difficult and did delay their ability to put it out. The fire burned 6 acres and the fields complicated the firefight, causing extra resources to be brought in to assist. The Reading Fire Department says the fire was human caused, so they're going to blame the homeless on this one. Which is what they want to do, you know, so that way everybody hates the homeless. But hey, while that's going on, they're being nice enough to cut the power to people, you know. Now, you have to be fucking rich anyways to fucking run an air conditioner, you know. It's like, come on, man, I've lived in fucking Arizona and other places.
You may hear the hum of window units cooling one room at a time. Today, we visited a retirement community where the entire complex lost air conditioning for an agonizing 12 hours.
Sorry about these rich people.
Early this morning, I could hear the baby ducks.
Sarah Mercado loves living by the pond at her South Sacramento retirement community. But she says last night was unbearable when the air conditioning went out for 12 hours.
Really, critical that we have, livable temperatures, at a certain age, where, things aren't comfortable anymore. We can't.
My grandfather lived in Arizona.
You say stay inside, go to a safe place where it's cool. Last night because
he ran fans.
Neighbor Denisha Bobo cares for her husband, a veteran with health problems.
That I had to put ice on him to have calm him down, ice packs to calm him down because he was very hot. I thought I had to call 911.
We spoke to management who said they were able to get the AC back on, but declined to provide any more details.
The last time they had problems with the air conditioning, they had to order a part, and it took like 2 weeks.
Neighbors here worry that if the air conditioning goes down again, it could be a serious emergency. It's early in the year for these kinds of dangerous temperatures.
It's getting really hot, very hot.
Well, of course, it does get hot in the summer. That's why it's called the summer, you know. But nonetheless, though, these people that have lived rich, who can afford to run a fucking AC, man, they're now finding out what it's like to have to actually close off your shades and actually do things like use ice and other stuff, which is what I do. You ever heard of wetting down t-shirts during the summer? This is the shit that we do because can't afford air conditioning. Air conditioning are for rich people. Tropical storm, Claudette drenches Gulf Coast.
I'm Tyler Malden for CNN. We now have Tropical Storm Claudette with the 5 a.m. update. The National Hurricane Center updated it to our third named storm of the 2021 season. Here's the thing, though, with Claudette. Once they found that closed circulation and upgraded it to a named storm, the closed low was already inland. It was just to the south of New Orleans, so technically I guess you could say it's already made landfall. Maximum sustained winds at the moment at 45 miles per hour, gusts as high as 60. We have tropical storm continuing, tropical storm warning still in effect from Fort Walton Beach all the way to Morgan City. We're going to see a tornado watch continue on into 11 o'clock this morning too, before the area is shaded in red here, because as the system continues to push to the north and those squall lines move through, each little squall line could easily spin up a tornado. Now, just because this thing is just now getting named, it does not change the impacts. We've already been dealing with tropical storm force conditions, and we've dealt with a lot of rainfall too. We've already seen wind gusts into the mid-50s over the last 24 hours, and some of us have seen nearly 9 inches of rain. Trust me, we're going to add to these totals over the next couple of days, because this thing is going to slowly move to the north and east. Once it gets to the Tennessee Valley, it's weakened tomorrow, and it continues to stay relatively weak, but a prolific rainfall producer for the south. Once it gets to the western Atlantic, come early next week, right off the mid-Atlantic, we will see it possibly reform back into a named system. Notice the trajectory here, the heavy rainfall across all of the south going on into the mid-Atlantic.
So, there you have it, Nothing too bad there, but nonetheless, so this is just the first of many more to come, Hey, and while that's going on, I was just talking about those that live off the grid, we call them homeless, but they just happen to know how to survive, right? Well, these terrorists, these landlords, can't wait to evict some more people to make them more homeless. This has to end. California terrorists call for an end to eviction moratorium. Some terrorists are pleading with the state and local governments to end the eviction moratorium on rental properties as planned by June 30 rather than extending it. So, you know, they really can't wait to get their hands on it. They're stealing from apartment owners and it's illegal, Fowler told the Epoch Times. Yeah, you're a bunch of fucking cocksucking assholes, man. You fucking kick people out who are paying the rent, and then you force them into something else and you charge them even more. I'm paying more now for a fucking apartment than I did for a duplex because of you fucking bastards lying about it and saying that, oh, well, we're just renovating the place. Fucking liar. You're the fucking thief, you piece of shit. You know, fucking pisses me off. Recall Newsom on May 10 announced a plan to repay property owners 100% of rent owed from tenants that qualify for renter assistance due to the Crown Royal. However, more than a month later, Fowler said the money hasn't arrived. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, you can't wait, huh? So pretty much though, woe unto those that go down to Egypt for help. Hey, eventually though, these terrorists are going to have their way, and you're going to be out on the street. Are you prepared for that? We here at Great Millstone, we prepare for every scenario. But so does this devil too. He knows. But hey, you might be seeing this. Honolulu police use robo-dog to patrol the homeless camp. That's right, robo-dog. Honolulu Police Department spent $150,000 in CARES Act money to approve Boston Dynamics four-legged robo-dog called Spot. And here's his dog, Spot. If you want a car or truck, go see Cal. Oh wait, something else. According to Vice News. So here you go, robo-dog will be going after you, you know. Wouldn't you love that thing patrolling you? In fact, there's a video here, so let's just go ahead and pull that up.
Okay, check this thing out. The Honolulu Police Department has a new sidekick. We told you about it before, but it's out there now to help with the homeless and responding officers.
Yeah, today officers gave a demo of how Spot, the robot dog, works. HPD says prior to the pandemic, officers would have in-person interviews with folks at the city's coronavirus screening site for homeless at Ka'ehi Lagoon and other locations.
Sometimes officers would have to quarantine for 14 days due to possible exposure to COVID. Police say having Spot around will eliminate all that risk.
We had numerous, like I said, numerous staff that had to go on time-based quarantine, numerous officers, numerous civilians, and that's 14 days where they have to go to work and they have to wait to find out if they've been exposed. You can't put a price on someone's life or their families. So for me, if there's technology that can solve a problem, and figure it out, I think that was a completely legitimate use of the funds for what we were doing.
O'Neill says Spot uses technology that scans a person's eyeball to provide an accurate body temperature. HPD purchased Spot last summer for $150,000 using CARES Act money.
Yep, so there you go. You might have a dog Spot, but not if you want a car or truck. Erdogan says Turkey will not change position on acquiring Russian S-400 missile defense missiles, you know, so pretty much it's a go. The Turkish leader said on Thursday that he had made the remarks during his first meeting with the, I don't even call him the president, but Biden in the NATO summit in Brussels early this week. The state news agency reported. Erdogan also said further he had told Biden on Monday that Turkey, a NATO member state, would not change course on acquiring American F-35 stealth fighter jets. I told Biden that he should not expect Turkey to take a different step on the F-35 and S-400 issues because we did what we had to do for the F-35s and gave the necessary money, Erdogan told reporters. So pretty much though, you know, they are building up their defenses. And the U.S. had a deal with them for the F-35s, and they'd already paid for it. But you know how this devil works, man. oh no, you can't have this if we're going to give you this. You're not giving that if they've already paid for it. And meanwhile, more terrorism in Syria, brought to you by the land of Sodom and Egypt. U.S. occupation forces bring in 40 vehicles to reinforce their base in Hasaka. The U.S. terrorists brought in 40 trucks and tankers loaded with logistic and military equipment coming from northern Iraq to reinforce its military bases in Hasaka. Local sources in Al Suwaida village told Syrian Arab news agency reported that a convoy consists of 40 vehicles, including refrigerated trucks and tankers carrying lamented boxes, entered the Syrian territories via the illegitimate Al-Walid crossing coming from northern Iraq and headed to its base in Qarab and Al-Jar airport in Al-Yara area in far northern countryside of Hasaka. So you see how they delayed the U.S. in one area. Well, they found other illegal ways of getting there. Because, hey, the terror of the world is great Satan, America. So, Apostle Tahar is going to finish this, but I'm going to read the first 19 verses of Isaiah chapter 19. The burden of Egypt, behold, the Most High rideth on a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence. You know, so all these idolaters, you know, that were expecting on Cesare Borgia to save them, you know, the so-called rapture. Well, this is what's going to happen. The heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Yeah, they're going to see that nuclear destruction. Was no rapture of the church. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. Well, you're seeing that. You heard about what happened to Newsom. And they shall fight everyone against his brother. Okay? It's going to get worse. And everyone against his neighbor. City against city and kingdom against kingdom. There'll be a lot more riots than these little things that have been sparked off. And these control riots, there's going to be actual real ones, you know, which will be caused by these lockdowns and everything else that they're going to intensify with these fake variants and everything else. You know, they're going to fake it some more and people are just going to get fucking tired of it. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof. And they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards. Yeah, exactly, you know. They're going to be looking to these people for answers, and they ain't going to find it. They're just going to get lied to. You know, like, why are they cutting off the water and the electricity? Why is their air conditioning not working? You know, because they can afford it, because they're so rich. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Most High, the Lord of hosts. See, a lot of people think that Biden really is the one that rules. He's not. He's just the one wearing the clown suit. Hey, Trump wore that clown suit for 4 years. But those that are really in the know, they know that this fierce king and cruel lord is the Rothschild. And the waters shall fail from the sea, and the river shall be wasted, dried up. Aren't they talking about droughts all the time? You know, they are constantly, you know, doing everything they can to cause panic, you know. And, hey, if there is a drought, it was sold to Nestle. And they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of defense shall be emptied and dried up. The reeds and flags shall wither, you know. And that's happening now, man. You know, people are seeing that this system has failed. The paper reeds by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks shall wither and be driven away and be no more. Yeah, exactly, because here's what's happening. The food supplies are getting cut off. The fishers also shall mourn, and all they that cast angle into the brook shall lament, and that spread nets upon the water shall languish. Yeah, because you don't have water for the livestock, you know. And now they're saying that, oh, well, we got to cut off the water because these fishes are now endangered. That's what's going on in Klamath. Moreover, they that work in fine flax that weave networks shall be confounded. And they shall be broken in the purposes thereof, all that make sluices and ponds for fish. So again, you know, you don't have means of survival. You're going to totally rely upon the government because they don't want anybody that knows how to survive, especially the tribes, man. We knew how to live off the land, you know, but that's why they say, oh, well, this is endangered, so we're going to cut off the water there. And they're going to get away with it too. The Most High hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. You know, just the lies, it's just constant puke coming out. And people are tired of it, and that's why that man did something about Newsom. You know, hey, he may have been taken down and all that, but at least he did something, you know, because yeah, Newsom is a piece of shit. He's just another puppet of the Illuminati. But the person that doesn't get the blame is Rothschild, except for those that really know him. You know, you don't ever see the man behind the curtain. In that day shall Egypt be like unto a woman, and it shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord of hosts which shaketh over it. And the land of Jehoiada shall be a terror unto Egypt. Everyone that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself, because of the counsel of the Most High of hosts, when he hath determined against it. And this is what's going to happen, you know. And Apostle Har will take it from there. So I hope all this has been edified. Like everything else, though, we're seeing things, and we're going to continue to see things as we're going to continue further into Jacob's trouble. But we should be saved out of it. For that I want to say, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Wa Abba Babal, and Barakatham the helpful elect. Shalom.
Isaiah 19, verses 23 to 25. This is giving all praise to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Bakar Kodash. This is a video that Vocam Malone had put up, and he's recently been going back and forth with Sakari. I know it's somewhere in the west. I believe it's Arizona or Phoenix, Arizona, or somewhere in the west. And I heard him mention it in another video. But this video is entitled Sakari Defends Drawing Guns at Camp. # Stop the Violence. And in a previous video, I would say a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago, he confronted one of the Sakari camps concerning Isaiah, the 19th chapter, and the 23rd to the 25th verse. By the way, Isaiah is a prophet. So, Isaiah, if you go to the book of Isaiah, there's a lot of things in the book of Isaiah that seem to not make any sense if you don't understand prophecies, or the prophecies of Isaiah. And Most High willing, I'm just going to touch on this. I didn't put a deep lesson with a whole lot of precepts, but I went to a couple of precepts to show you that, well, let me read the verse. Isaiah 19, verse 23 to 25. In that day there will be a highway from Egypt to Assyria. Now, can you physically go from, you can go from Egypt to Assyria, but does that highway mean there's going to be a straight road from the physical land Egypt to the physical land Assyria? No, it's symbolic for nations that are outside of Israel. When you read the scriptures, the northern kingdom was taken into captivity by the Assyrians, and the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Judah, was taken captive by the Babylonians. So what you're going to find out is that Egypt and Assyria in Isaiah the 19th chapter are talking about two places that are not the land of Israel. Egypt is also, we also teach and believe, and we are backed up by scriptures that Egypt is another name for America. Egypt is known as prophetically America. Assyria is also known as America. Babylon is also spoken of in Revelation and in Jeremiah. We know that Babylon is referring to America. So when Vocab Malone read the scripture to these individuals in Sakari, he claimed that they didn't want to deal with it. They kind of went to another scripture and avoided dealing with this breakdown. And Vocab Malone, he knows absolutely nothing about prophecy. You know, he's reading this like it's literal, like it's talking about the Egyptians and the Assyrians. It says Isaiah 19 verse 23 verse 25, in that day there will be a highway from Egypt to Assyria, and Assyria will come into Egypt. So if you look at this literally, how is the land of Assyria going to come into the land of Egypt? It's not talking about the actual lands. It's prophetic for lands outside of the homeland, Israel. And like I said, I'm not going to read all of Isaiah the 19th chapter. I will most likely go into it more in depth tomorrow, Most High willing, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Ratazah. But when you look at these scriptures, when you look at these prophetic scriptures, you have to look at them with a spiritual eye. Vocab does not possess the magic eye, the spiritual eye. He does not have the eye salve on his eyes. So he doesn't understand the prophecies. That's why he makes unlearned statements such as Edom was done away with. No evidence. No evidence. Edom is still here. The ruling kingdom would be biblically the kingdom of Edom. This is Esau's kingdom. The ruling authority of this planet are the Edomites. Let me read this again. Isaiah 19 verse 23, verse 25 to verse 25. In that day there will be a highway from Egypt to Assyria, and Assyria will come into Egypt. So we know that it's not talking about physical Egypt and physical Assyria. And Egypt into Assyria. And the Egyptians will worship with the Assyrians. So now we know it's talking about people. It's not talking about Egyptian people and Assyrian people coming together. It's talking about Israelites being scattered through in different areas of the world. Egypt being spiritually is America, and Assyrians is also known as America. Now they could have just put in the word Babylon instead of Egypt, or Babylon instead of Assyria. So what Vocab did was he said you're going to have a certain amount of Egyptians and a certain amount of Assyrians. They're going to worship the Lord, which he doesn't understand the prophecies. Like I said, They ain't no Egyptians.
And Paul Bagley tried that too.
They ain't no Egyptians calling on the name of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. They ain't no Egyptians or Assyrians calling the white man Edomites or following your doctrine, which is Calvinism. Bottom line is you don't understand prophecy, so you should look. This is above your pay grade. So now what I did was, like I said, I was gonna pull out a bunch of precepts. I just wanted to touch on this. Now let's go to Hosea 9. I'm gonna start the first verse. I'm gonna jump around. I'll read verse 1, verse 3, and I'll jump down to verse 10. And then from there, I'll go to Hosea chapter 7. I should really read this whole chapter, but I'm going to touch on verse 11 and I'm going to touch on Hosea 7 verse 11 and Hosea 8 verse 3. So let me come back. If vocab Malone, you have no business messing with the prophetic scriptures because you don't understand prophecies because you're not a prophet. It says here in Hosea 9:1, rejoice not, O Israel, for joy, talking about the Israelites, obviously, as other people, for thou hast gone a whoring from thy power. Thou hast loved a reward upon every corn floor. In other words, Israel, the reason why Israel as a nation was punished is because they turned their back on the Most High and they were following other gods. Let me jump down to the third verse, Hosea 9 verse 3. They shall not dwell in the Lord's land. Ephraim shall not dwell in the Lord's land. And when were they put out of the Lord's land? They were put out of the Lord's land as the northern kingdom by Shalmaneser V, the king of Assyria. It says, Hosea 9 verse 3 again, they shall not dwell in the Lord's land, but Ephraim shall return to Egypt. Now there's no record of the Ephraimites returning back to Egypt. Now we do know you had Judites that had went back to Egypt, that some of them were cast into slavery back in Egypt, mainly in Alexandria, Egypt. When you go into the record of the Maccabees during the time period of the Ptolemaic and Seleucus dynasty, or that line of dynasty, they were put into captivity. I mean, you can go to the secular history and read up on that. So let me read the third verse again. They shall not dwell in the Lord's land, but Ephraim, because we know what happened to Ephraim and all the northern kingdom, they were taken down by the Assyrian kingdom. So at one time they were actually under the rulership of the Assyrians. And as the history goes, they came over here to the Americas. And if you go to Revelation chapter 11, verse 8, it reads Sodom and Egypt, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. So America was known as Sodom and Egypt and Babylon and Assyria. It says, third verse again, they shall not dwell in the Lord's land, but Ephraim shall return to Egypt, and they shall, so Egypt prophetically meaning America, and they shall eat unclean things in Assyria. So Ephraim went to the Americas, and what did they do? They ate unclean things. And mind you, in the land of Puerto Rico, they ate unclean things because that wasn't their land. And they were not walking around calling themselves Israelites. They had lost their nationality or religion, so to speak. So I see it's necessary, Most High willing, tomorrow to go to the book of Isaiah the 19th chapter. It speaks in Isaiah the 19th chapter about 5 cities and 5 cities shall speak the language of Canaan. And the language of Canaan is Hebrew. Now let me jump down to the 13th verse of Hosea 9. Ephraim, as I saw Tyrus is planted, Ephraim and the Ephraimites, as I saw Tyrus is planted in a pleasant place. That pleasant place that Hosea saw was the land of the island of Puerto Rico. Ephraim, as I saw Tyrus, is planted in a pleasant place. But Ephraim shall bring forth his children. So the parents of the Ephraimites, eventually they're going to go to America, shall bring forth his children to the murderer. And who are the murderer? Esau. The first murderers were the conquistadors that conquered all those islands, Central and South America and all the islands. That's why when you go to Mexico, when you go to Puerto Rico, when you go to Española or the DR or Costa Rica or any of those lands south of the U.S., they all speak Spanish. Why? Because Edomites, posing as the conquistadors from Spain, took them down. So they learned their language. They were forced. Well, what also was forced on them was their religion, which is Roman Catholicism. You go to any of those Latin American countries, if you're trying to find a Muslim down there, good luck. What you're going to find is a bunch of those tribes following the religion of Roman Catholicism. Now, Roman Catholicism in the beginning of North America wasn't big because you didn't have the conquistador from Spain take America. They had part of America. You had the Spanish-American War, French-American War, the Revolutionary War. So the religion and the language of America was mainly English. So let me read Hosea 9 verse 13 again. Ephraim, as I saw Tyrus, is planted in a pleasant place. That pleasant place that Hosea saw in the vision was the island of Puerto Rico. But Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer, and the murderer represents Esau. So what did the Ephraimites do later in history? They went up to the Americas, New York, Chicago, other places. New York was a major place for Ephraim, but Ephraim has spread out somewhat. And the murderer was Esau, in the form of the so-called American white man. Let me look that word up let me go to the root of that word. The word is harag. Harag means to kill, slay, murder, destroy, murder, slayer, out of hand, to kill, to slay, to destroy, to ruin, to be killed, be slain. And that's what they did. That first took place, the first experience was when the conquistadors came into those lands. And later in history, they were brought up here to America by their fathers, by their parents. Let me go back to the verse again. Ephraim, as I saw in Tyrus, is planted in a pleasant place, Puerto Rico, but Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer. So ultimately, for economic reasons, they came over here to America. They were killed off, imprisoned, by Esau. Okay, I got a couple more precepts. Hosea, 7 verse 11. Ephraim, meaning the tribe of Ephraim, also is like a silly dove without heart. They call to Egypt, they go to Assyria. So when you go back to this video, Isaiah 19, 23 to 25. In that day there will be a highway from Egypt to Assyria. We just read that in Hosea. Completely different prophet. And Assyria will come into Egypt, and Egypt into Assyria, and the Egyptians will worship with the Assyrians. The Egyptians worshiping with the Assyrians are Israelites from other lands. And these are two major lands, Assyria and Egypt. Because where was Israel scattered? When you read Isaiah 11, it mentions a number of nations or landmass that they were scattered to. Egypt was mentioned, Cush was mentioned, Assyria was mentioned, Elam was mentioned. So vocab, this is not talking about a handful of Egyptians and a handful of Assyrians are going to, meet up with each other and worship the Lord. Hosea 7 verse 11 again. Ephraim also is like a silly dove without heart. They call to Egypt, they go to Assyria. So you don't have Ephraimites trying to get back to the land of Israel. Hosea 9 verse 3. They shall not dwell in the Lord's land, but Ephraim shall return to Egypt, and they shall eat unclean things in Assyria. And I read that about 5 minutes ago. And those unclean things was when they first came over here to the Americas, to the island of Puerto Rico, port of riches. They were eating all that garbage. And when they came up to America, they continued to eat that garbage. And what they brought with them was Roman Catholicism and the Spanish language. Anyway, like I said, most High willing, I want to go into the whole chapter of Isaiah, the 19th chapter, tomorrow, most High willing. With that, I'm going to say shalom.